Hi guys, welcome back to Cat Every Day. It is Recipe Wednesday. I thought I would share a recipe with you that I made this week, just a couple days ago. My family really loved them. Now, just because Christmas is over and I know, everybody's on their healthy paths and, changing things up and swearing off the cookies and all of that kind of thing. That's great. But the thing is that there are certain fruits that are still in season because it's winter, and persimmons is still one of those things that's going to be around. They are really good for you, and they are plentiful in some places. So whether you have the fuyu persimmons or the hachaya persimmons, I love cooking with the hachaya persimmons. They're really big, and if you get them and they're hard, just give them a few days and they'll soften right up, and you get a lot of pulp. If you get them on sale, you could really just, blend the pulp and then freeze it and then use it throughout the year. Now, I did get these persimmons that I intended to use at Christmas to make a Christmas pudding, but I couldn't find any cranberries to make the pudding, so I didn't make it. Well, I cleaned the fridge out today and I ran across those, or not today, a couple days ago, and I ran across the persimmons, and I thought, you know what? One of the big things about this no spend month is trying to not waste things and use things up. And I thought, you know what, they were really kind of squishy. I'm gonna use these persimmons and I'm gonna make something. So we took a vote and it was either persimmon bread or persimmon cookies, and all the guys wanted the persimmon cookies. So I went ahead and made them. And honestly, it smelled so wonderful, and it just smelled like Christmas again, and it tasted like Christmas, and it was just really wonderful. Now, before you swear off the cookies and say I'm not going to make them because they're cookies, one thing I want you to realize is that even with a healthy plan, starting that anew this season in January, we have to realize that you might want something sweet once in a while. And when you want something sweet, you do want it to be better for you than something that's not as good for you, right? And let me just read you these macros of these cookies. They're so good. I'm going to put the link for them into the description bar. It comes from Pinterest. They're called Grandma's Persimmon Cookies. But when I looked up the macros for them, 115 calories, kcals, for one cookie. And then, now for some reason it said 11 grams of protein. Seems like a lot of protein for one cookie. 2 grams of fat, 5 grams of saturated fat total. And let's see, 1 gram of cholesterol. So, looking at that, I don't think it's such a bad cookie. I think when you look at other ones that you've had for Christmas, they're way overboard. And this one, you still get some of those nutrients from the persimmon. Now, you could trade out the flour and use whole wheat flour, or whole wheat pastry flour is what I would recommend because it's lighter. And then you can maybe take some of the sugar out and replace it with maybe, a Splenda baking mix or something like that. So you could still play around with it. But all in all, it's more of a healthier option of a cookie, I think. So don't write it off. Save the recipe and let's make it together. And hopefully you can find some persimmons this season and be able to try it out. Okay. I will see you in a bit. So let's start off by preheating the oven to 325. I have my ingredients here: half of a cup of butter, which is softened, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 cup of ripe persimmon pulp, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And I'm also using 1 cup of nuts. You can toast them. And I've got 1 cup of raisins. You could also use cranberries for this. And I don't want to forget, I think I almost forgot adding a quarter of a teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves. So I'm going to add that in as well. All right, so I'm going to start off by adding my butter and my sugar, and I'm going to cream those together. And, I thought about using like a diet sugar this time, and I thought, I'm just going to do it the way the recipe says, and then we'll see how it turns out. Next time I can, mess with it a little bit. All right, I'm going to add my egg in this time, and I'm also going to put the recipe in the description box. Now, it doesn't call for vanilla, but I have this bourbon vanilla bean paste that I got at Trader Joe's. I'm putting a teaspoon of that in because the last time I added it to something, oh my goodness, it just added a really nice flavor. And I'm sure it's going to be good, just as good without it, but I'm kind of like interested to see what this is going to do. So if you're in Trader Joe's, pick one of those up. That's fabulous. All right, so I'm going to put my pulp in, and this is Hachaya persimmon pulp. And I had put it in the blender, I think, to make sure that it was really nice and smooth. So I'm putting my baking soda in now, and I'm going to let that set after I mix it in. So my dry ingredients, the other ones that are left, are all going to go in together. The baking soda goes into the fruit pulp, though, into the wet mixture, not into the dry mixture. So I'm just going to kind of mix all of this inside this little cup here. And then I'm going to add it all in at once into the bowl. And then I'm going to fold it in rather than stir it too much. I'm just going to keep folding it in. And then pretty soon it's going to look like this. Now you can fold in your nuts and your raisins or your cranberries, whichever ones you're using. I am using pecans, and I did not toast them. Now, the recipe says to kind of space them out because they're going to flatten out a little bit. And so I'm using a small, like a medium ice cream scoop. And so I'm going to put them into the oven, and they are going to go in there for 15 to 18 minutes until the sides start to brown. They're going to look really soft, but when you turn them over, you're going to see a nice toastiness. And I would take them off and just let them cool on a wire rack. They are so good. My family really loved them. They smelled and tasted like Christmas. All right, so like I said, just because the holidays are over doesn't mean that I'm done making cookies for the rest of the year. I'm still going to make cookies. I have kids in the house, and I have a husband who loves cookies, and I love sweets. So I want to have some healthier cookies in my repertoire, and I want to have some healthier options that I can choose. And this is probably what I'm going to make again, as long as the persimmons are plentiful this season. So I will see you guys very soon. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning in.